ever since I've known Tom Vorvis, we'll work together and he'll say, hold on a minute, try this. And in the middle of us doing something amazing, he will show me a little shortcut and it makes my day. That's so nerdily amazing. And it really does. I talk to him for days afterwards. In gravity learning workshops, it's all super hands-on. And so during those workshops, we sprinkle tips and tricks and productivity awesomeness all the way through. And we got together and thought, why not do a whole webinar with just that stuff? And Tom and I virtually high-fived over Zoom, and here we are. I find it almost embarrassing to admit that I'm most excited about this webinar, and I hope you are in the same sort of vein that I am. During the webinar, if you'd like to ask questions or react or say that was amazing or any of that in the chat, please do. Webinars are better when they're like that. And if you come take a workshop with us, you'll find that everything is super hands-on and more of a conversation than it is a TV show. Right, which is not always how it is, especially with software training. If afterwards you'd like to hang out and ask questions or just chat or send some virtual high fives, then that'll be available to you as well. And without further ado, no one loves a do, I will pass you on to your friend and mine, the data and software wizard of gravity learning, Tom Vorvis. Tom?
Thank you, David. Thank you. Yes, the data and software wizard of gravity learning. That's me. Well, we're working toward that. That's for sure. I don't want to call myself a wizard yet, but for sure, you can see the gray hair. There's 35 years of this activity, me and the computer and learning all these shortcuts. And well, I'm not going to share with you everything I know today, but a half an hour or 25 minutes of it, it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to enjoy it. I've got a lot of great shortcuts, tips, and tricks to share with you. And if you just sit back and relax, well, wait, don't relax too much. I want you to engage in the chat. I want you to have a little fun. Let me know what you think about what you're seeing. Say something like, I knew that, or that's new to me, or wow, that was cool. Anything would be great. That engagement will not only make me happy, but it helps you learn. Did you know that? When you actually engage in any way, shape, or form and communicate while you're learning, that helps it stick and helps it stay put. And these shortcuts, everybody, we all know about shortcuts. Oh my gosh. You learn a great shortcut and then poof, it's out of your brain and you forget about it. So when you engage, you're more likely to remember. And isn't that what we're here for? So let's get started, shall we? This is going to be great. So oh my goodness, there's so many shortcuts for you, and I'm going to categorize them for you now. First of all, Outlook shortcuts. We'll get into those, and then we'll get into some Word and PowerPoint shortcuts, and then some Excel, probably my favorite, Excel shortcuts, and then some Windows tips and tricks and shortcuts that you think you're going to appreciate as well. So this is the pattern we're going to flow through. Please, again, use the chat and communicate with us as much as you can, as much as you'd like. Love to hear from you. Now, this is fast. This is super fast. I've got 5 topics here, four bullet points, 5 different topics. So I'm going to go boom, 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 boom. And there's going to be very little transition between this cool shortcut and that cool shortcut. So you don't have to feel obligated to write them down. This is being recorded and you'll get an opportunity to review this if you'd like. If you want to see my lovely face and these amazing keyboards, shortcuts, and cool tricks and tips. So let's enjoy it now. We're going to switch on over to Microsoft Outlook. I'm going to slide that right on over to my screen, and you're going to see some of my email here. It's real email, but you can plainly tell I don't read much of it. But there is some really cool things I'd like to share with you. Did you notice how I maximize my window? I'm going to take this window and unmaximize it right now and scooch it over here to the left. And I'd like you to notice down here in the lower left corner that I've got my calendar. Here I'm reading this wonderful email about penny stocks. And I come down here and look at my calendar to schedule something. And now I can't see my email anymore. Now I have to go back to my email and look at the email and then go back to my calendar. Have you ever had that situation where you want to see an email and see the calendar at the same time? You might be thinking, Tom, just double click on the email. You got it, right? But let's do it a different way. Let's right click on the calendar and notice there's a function right here called open in new window. When I right click on the calendar and choose open a new window, I'm going to get a new window for my calendar. And oh my gosh, what do I see here? I've got my email in one window. I've got my calendar in another window. And hey, if you had 2 monitors, good for you. Now you're ahead of the game, right? And if you want to open up 3 or 4 or 5 different windows, you're welcome to. And you can even be viewing your window of email twice if you'd like. Maybe I'd like to look at this folder and then I'd like to look at this folder as well. I have that right? This is a free world. I should be able to do that. And sure enough, I can. So let's go ahead and try another really cool Outlook trick. It has to do with the calendar. Here I've got my nice calendar. You can see how crazy busy I am on my calendar, but I'd like to move to another date. I'd love to move to another date. So let's go over here to the show the birthdays calendar. And let's see, if I want to move to another date, I could scroll by using the scroll bar up here, but I know which date I want to go to. In fact, I want to go to December 23rd, 2021. So I'll just do a Control G. Control G brings up this go to date. I'll type in 12/23, 2021, hit the enter key, and boom, I arrive at 12/23. Yeah, right? I can jump ahead very quickly. And of course, we do have the ever popular Always Fun Today button up top, which takes me right back to today. I know, don't be scrolling forever. Here's another fun little trick. I learned this from a parole officer years ago. Not my parole officer. He didn't know much about computers, but this other parole officer, you do a Control G and you type in at the end of the date you're on, plus 45D. Anybody have any idea what's going to happen if I do plus 45D on this date? Yes, you're right. It's going to take me exactly 45 days into the future. What? Yeah, really cool. What if I want to look 45 days in the past? This is the weird one. I do a Control G and I say 45 days ago. It's a really weird thing. But if I do 45 days ago and hit the enter key, it takes me 45 days ago. So I don't get to use the minus sign there. Thank you, Microsoft, for that weird one. But there, it's pretty cool, right? Yep, no minus. Weird, I know, but there it is. When I'm in my calendar and I want to write an email, what do you all normally do when you want to write an email while you're on your calendar? You go back to your email, right? Well, instead of going back to the email, you can go up here to the new items. So I stay on my calendar and I go up here to new items and I can choose a new email message. So I can write a new email message while I'm on my calendar. I don't have to feel like I got to go over to my email to create a new email. I don't. In fact, if I'm on my email and want to create a meeting appointment, I can do that as well by sliding right on over here and choose new item. And I can create a new appointment or a new meeting. Pretty slick, yeah? That's a neat little trick. Now I'd like to show you something that's a little different, just a little different while I'm writing an email. I'm going to be writing an email. Here I am down here writing this email with these wonderful notes about this, that, and the other thing. And I'd like to make sure those stand out. So I'll put some bullets on those. And I think, now that I look at this list, I think the other thing should be first. So instead of cutting and pasting, isn't that what you would all do, cut and paste? Why don't you just hold down your Shift and your Alt keys with your left hand, if you prefer. Then you can use your up arrow, bing, bing. Well, would you look at that? Shift Alt, up and down arrows will move that bullet around. Yeah, way. So it's so darn cool, but it doesn't only work with bullet lists. It also works with paragraphs. You're probably thinking, Tom, what did you just do? I'll show you that later. But notice I've got this lovely paragraph down here. I want to make it the first paragraph. When you apply styles, I'm going to go ahead and click on that paragraph anywhere in the paragraph. Hold down the Shift and the Alt, and then hit the up arrow. Boom, boom. The whole paragraph goes. So if it's a long move, maybe cut and paste is good, but this short move, up and down arrows with the Shift Alt, magical. Yes, magical. That's a good one. Yeah, thank you, Allison. I love that one too. Well, you know what? Let's go back over to that calendar. That calendar is a great place to begin our discussion here. So here I'm on this calendar. Let's check out the work week. I'll put a little appointment here, and I apologize for being so short and brief with my appointments in my calendar, but I want to show you some really cool tips and tricks. If I select some time here and put in a meeting, there's that meeting. I don't know what the language that is, but I'd like to move that meeting to another day. We all know how to do that, right? But what if I want to duplicate that meeting? Copy paste again? Sure, but let's just grab it, drag it, and before you let go, hold down the control key and then let go. There it is. So if you want to propagate a meeting across 2 or 3 days, just hold down the control key and you've got that meeting duplicated and propagated across multiple days. Pretty slick, yeah? But what if you want to move it to a further date down the road or copy it to a further date down the road? Grab that appointment, drag it on over, hold down the control key and drop it on any date you want. And bada bing, bada boom, that thing has been copied over to that future date. Nice, right? One more really slick, cool thing I'd like to share with you here in Outlook. I'm going to be working on the 16th. I need to be working on the 18th as well. So I'm going to be moving appointments between these 2 dates. So I'll click on the 16th and I'll hold on the control key and click on the 18th. Look at that. I'm looking at those 2 dates simultaneously. Let's do one more. Control click the 20th and I'll control click the 26th. There is the beauty of holding down that control key and selecting non-contiguous dates. Now I can move stuff around so quickly and easily because those are the 4 dates I want to concentrate on. Wow. Was that cool or was that cool? No doubt you thought it was cool because those are your only choices. Well, there we go. That was cool. That was Outlook. Lots of great stuff. Very cool stuff. But let's move on. I want to show you next in our topic list here some shortcuts that have to do with Word and PowerPoint. Just a couple, although a couple is good. If you save a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, that's great. Here I am in Word. I've got a couple of fun things to share with you, like auto-populating text. You probably saw me do that over in PowerPoint, or excuse me, in email. I'm going to type in equals rand, open parenthesis, 4, 3. What does that mean, Tom? It really means nothing. Just a quick way to get some text onto the screen. So rand stands for random, and 4, 3, that means I want 4 paragraphs with 3 sentences. And no, don't get too excited about this because it doesn't really allow you to program it to do anything. But boom, it gives me 4 paragraphs with 3 sentences. If I would have typed in equals rand 10, 15, I would have gotten 10 paragraphs with 15 sentences each. But that's for random text. Thank you, David. So now I've got some random text in there. Let's check out those keystrokes again. Shift, Alt, up and down, but you also have Shift, Alt, left and right. Let's try Shift, Alt, right, Shift, Alt, left. That's moving me through what we call our styles. So Shift, Alt, left and right will move you through this gallery of styles. So let's talk about styles for just a moment. It's one of my favorite Word features. Absolutely amazing. You don't have to select the paragraph first. No, all you have to do is be in the paragraph. And technically speaking though, Cheryl, when you click inside the paragraph, you have selected it for this type of activity. Great. And Cheryl, so nice to see your name on my screen. So let's go ahead and check out styles now. Let's talk about this and that on the first paragraph here. And let's style that to look like, how about, I like all these styles, how short and sweet they are and how quick it is to apply them, but I don't like any of them the way they look. All right, let's choose this one. I want that size, but I'm going to go ahead and select this, change it to a nice color, bold it, and make it just a little smaller. Now I like it, but now I've deviated from that style. So if I go back up to styles and right mouse click on this style that I applied, I can tell it to update the current style to match my selection. So now I am in real time redefining my styles. So what does this do for me? Here's where the beauty really lies. Check this out. I can now, at this point, click anywhere in the paragraph, go up to my styles, click on that newly defined style, and boom, it looks just like this. And just pretend for me, if you would. if this was a 30, 40, 50 page document with these headings all over the place. And the question is, will it stay updated in new Word docs? Good question. I don't have time to show that to you right now, but you can make your styles universal as opposed to just for this document. For right now, it is for just this document. So I show this to my boss or my client. And they say, you know, Tom, you're doing great here, but the blue has got to go. Get rid of the blue. And pretend again, this is a 30-page document. I don't want to go and change 30 pages from blue to black. So I'm just going to select this one paragraph up top. Change the color for the boss or the client. They don't like blue. Certainly they'll like green. There, and now I've changed it to green. Now I can go up here to the styles and right click and again choose update title. That's the name of the style to match the selection. Now that will cascade throughout the whole document, and all 300 pages are boom, 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 have just changed. Amazing, right? Amazing. So styles are one of my favorite things to share with people. Now, before I run along here, that's great. Before I run along here, I want to just help you appreciate some selection tricks. Double-clicking selects a sentence, double-clicking selects a word. Triple-clicking selects a paragraph. Quadruple-clicking doesn't do anything. Good thing it stops at 3, right? So triple-clicking will select a sentence, or is it a paragraph? It's the whole paragraph when you triple-click. But what if you want to select just a sentence? Hold down that control key and just click once. Boom, that sentence is selected. Hold on the control key and click once. Boom, that sentence is selected. And why do we want to select things quickly? Because the computer can't read our minds. Selecting things gives us the opportunity to tell the computer that we're going to be working with that. So we're selecting stuff all the time, right? So double click is a word, triple click is a paragraph, and control click is a sentence. Wonderful, wonderful. Now there's another area of selecting out here. It's called the left-hand selection column. Did you know that when your mouse changes from an I-beam to an arrow, that's actually a designed part of Word for selecting? One click selects the line. Double click selects the paragraph. Triple click selects the document. Ta-da! Some great selection techniques for you. I'm going to move along out of Word now, and I'd like to show you a few things in PowerPoint next. Are you ready? Let's show you a few things in PowerPoint. Let's take a look at this PowerPoint slide deck here. My first thing I want to share with you in PowerPoint is creating a new slide. Of course, there's a keystroke for it, but I want to remind you of this and that and the other thing. What am I going to show you again? To remind you, move those bullets up and down. What's the keystroke, friends? Shift, Alt, up and down. It's magical. So that Shift, Alt, up and down works in Word, works in PowerPoint, and works in your email because they all use basically the same editor tools built in. Shift, Alt, up and down. Pretty neat, pretty neat. Now, I'm going to use PowerPoint to help you appreciate a tool that's built into Word and Excel and PowerPoint. Here I am working on slide 2 of my presentation, and here is slide 1. When I'm writing my slide 1, I'd like to refer to a few things that are on slide 2. When I click on slide 2, though, I no longer see slide 1. It's kind of a pain. I'd like to reference slide 2 while I'm typing on slide 1. I'm going to go up here to the View menu and choose New Window. What? Just like Outlook, we can choose New Window here in PowerPoint, Word, or Excel. And I'd like you to notice that when I change one of these, this changes here as well. So I'm really only working in one document with 2 windows. What's the advantage? The advantage is I can look at one slide while I work on the other slide. And when I make these changes, yeah, it's changing both windows because I've only got one document open. I'm just looking at it twice or 3 times or 4 times.
There's a good question here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, can they be
asking, yeah.
Can they be arranged side by side? The answer is yes. If you stay tuned for the end of our little webinar here, I'll show you some really slick tricks how to arrange them side by side using some Microsoft Windows commands. What do you think? Wait around and I'll show you. All right, so let's take a look at one more thing here in Outlook, or excuse me, in PowerPoint I want to share with you. Let's take this slide deck that we were working with earlier, and let's bring it up on screen here. I'm really impressed with this slide deck. I love this slide deck because it was designed by my friend David. I love this slide deck, and I really like this slide right here, and I want to reuse this slide in this deck. So to reuse a slide in a different deck, it's really quite simple. You just grab the slide here in the thumbnail side and drag it on over to the other deck. And you might be thinking, Tom, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? It literally copied that slide straight on over to that other deck. And it looks beautiful, doesn't it? So that's one way we can easily move slides from one deck to another. And it doesn't come over all messed up, does it? Wonderful. So those are some really cool, fun PowerPoint tips and tricks I wanted to share with you. I've got one more. I've got to show you one more. It's one of my favorites. A lot of people don't see the advantage of what I'm about to share with you. So I want you to think outside your box for just a moment. Think outside the box for just a moment. Let's think about using PowerPoint and still wanting to have people see my desktop. Maybe I've got icons on my desktop, and maybe I've got another document open, but I still want my presentation to look like a presentation. I don't want people to see the menus and the toolbars all associated with Microsoft PowerPoint. When you're in your slideshow menu, there's a really slick feature here under Setup Show. When you click on Setup Show, you'll notice there's a choice here called Presented by a Speaker Full Screen. That's the default. That's what we're all used to seeing. But there's another one here called Browsed by an Individual Window. Let's turn that on. Now when I click on my slideshow button down here, no longer will my slideshow show up in a full screen mode, but this time it shows up in a window mode. So all of my animations and all my movement through the slide deck will still do its thing, but now I've got this lovely window that I can move around. That's not all filled with tools and PowerPoint apparatus. It's just my presentation in a window. I love this feature. It just makes me smile every time I use it. Let's move on. Microsoft Excel. A couple of things on Microsoft Excel to share with you. We all use Excel probably extensively. Oftentimes we need to put in today's date. Well, when you ever need to put in today's date, just do a control semicolon. Boom, puts in today's date. Control semicolon, instantly. How about the time? You want to stamp something with the time? It's control shift semicolon. And the time goes in. And what's happening here is it's actually reading from my computer, the date and the time. So control semicolon, control shift semicolon, pretty slick little keystrokes if you ask me. A couple other keystrokes I like to share with you that are really slick in Excel. Shift, spacebar. What does that do? It highlights the whole row for me. Shift spacebar highlights the row I'm on. It's a really cool tool, especially when you're trying to read across a row and you can't follow it because it's such a large screen. Shift spacebar just, boom, shows you that whole row nicely. Now, if you want to expand this and say control plus sign now, I can insert rows very quickly, and control minus sign will remove rows. So if you want to quickly insert a row, shift space, control plus. And you might be thinking, Tom, this is too much, too many keystrokes. Just review these and introduce them to yourself one at a time. And before long, they become second nature, and you'll be lickety-split on that keyboard, making some amazing spreadsheets very, very quickly. But don't try to memorize them all. Just maybe one or two. Pick a few key ones, and you'll be able to use them right away. Shift space to select a row, and control space to select the column. That's exactly right. And then control plus inserts, control minus removes. Now I need you to use your imagination for just a moment now with me in Excel. Let's imagine now we have a whole bunch of sheets. I didn't want to create a workbook with a whole bunch of sheets already. I just want you to show there's nothing up my sleeve. No tricks up my sleeve. Actually, I do have a few tricks up my sleeve, but this isn't one of them. Now, how many times have you spent clicking on these buttons right here? Thousands of times, right? To move between those sheets? Yes? Thousands of times you click on those buttons to move to those sheets that are out of view. Did you know that if you take your mouse down here to any of these little arrows and you right mouse click, you're going to see a list of all your sheets? And you can jump to that sheet by name? What? Now there's a huge time saver right there. Yes, you can jump to a sheet by name instead of having to use those little arrows to go click, 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 and finally find it. I mean, it's a lot easier than that. Right click on the arrows and off you go to a sheet that you want to get to by name. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Thank you, David, for that. Now, we're down to our last 4 minutes, and I've got some really neat, powerful Windows features I want to share with you. But before I do, I'd like to know in the chat, did you learn anything new yet that you think you can use? Thank you, Steve. Did you learn anything new yet you think you can use? It's really important for you to write those down or at least review this video when we send it out to you later on so you can have them right in front of you and you can have them just go in by osmosis. And before long, it'll be memorized. Let me show you a couple really cool tips and tricks in Windows itself. I call this the boss's looking key. It's a bad joke. But if you do a Control D, what do you think it's going to do? Or excuse me, not Control D. Getting ahead of myself. Not the Control key. We're going to start using now the Windows key. I want to introduce you to the Windows key, not the Control key. So I hold down the Windows key and hit a D. Everything just minimized. That's the boss's looking keystroke. Control D, or not Control D, I keep saying that. Windows D again brings it all right back where it was. So you can start right back where you were. It's a bad joke. It's not the boss's looking key. It's to clear my screen so I can look at my desktop key. Wonderful. Windows D. Also, if you want to bring up your File Explorer right away, Windows E for Explorer will bring up your File Explorer view lickety-split as well. Windows E brings up the File Explorer view. While you're in your Explorer view, you might be wanting to look at this list of documents, and you might also want to be looking at this list of documents. I want to be able to look at both of them, but it appears I can only look at one at a time. If you do a Control N as in new, you get a new window, and now I've got my two windows. I can be looking at these documents and these documents at the same time. Wow, Control N, huge, huge benefit for you right there. Now, I've got just 2 more minutes for you, and I wanted to make sure I cover that question from earlier. I had it as one of our really fun tips and tricks. Moving your windows around to make them fit on your screen a little easier. If you grab a window by its title bar and just take your mouse and shove your mouse all the way to an edge of your screen, it'll then snap that window to fit on the right edge of your screen. Now you can click another window to snap it to fill the other space. That's pretty slick, yeah? If you grab a window and move it back down, it remembers the original size and it's right back where it was. You can also do this with a keystroke. Hold down the Windows key and tap your right arrow. Hold down the Windows key and tap your left arrow. Hold down the Windows key and tap your left arrow again. You can move those windows around very, very quickly and anchor them on the left or the right by either dragging them or by using the Windows arrow keys. Does this work when you have an extended monitor? Yes, it does. In fact, I'm using an extended monitor right now. And it now, back in the old days, it used to jump to the far monitor. But now in this new age with Windows 10, it figures it out for you. It's pretty nice. I've got one more trick to show you. One more. And I need to bring up my calculator. I'm going to tap my Windows key, type in the calculator. I'd like to bring that calculator onto that screen I'm sharing with you right now. But I need to use the calculator all by itself. My screen's all busy. I suffer from TMW. How about you? Too many windows. If I go to this calculator and just give it a good shake, it'll minimize all the other windows except for this one. If I grab it and shake it again, they all come right back where they were. So maybe I want to work just on this window. I give it a good shake and all the other windows go away, give it a good shake, and they all come back. You know what, everybody? This has been a blast. I love showing you tips and tricks. Join us next time, our webinar, I almost said next week, in 2 weeks, August 19th, for the coolest Excel stuff that you've been missing out on. I'm going to share those with you, and it's going to be great. It's going to be at least as great as this, if not better.